This is The Golden Rule with David Fischer. For the latest information about bail-ins, bailouts, the economic collapse, and much more, go to landmarkgold.com.
Well, welcome to The Golden Rule. This is David Fischer with podcast number 45. I'm the CEO of Landmark Capital. And today, I want to talk about a little bit what's kind of going on in the markets. Here we are 6 months into the year. Let's do some comparisons. You know, recently the markets are somewhat flat. Not a lot of activity upwards or downwards in pretty much all the markets, except for there's been some downward movement in the dollar index. We'll look at that in a second. But here's some numbers. Year-to-date numbers. Gold is up about 10.1%. Silver is up just slightly under that, 10%. The Dow is up 6.5% year-to-date. So gold, I said, and stocks, metals and stocks, at the beginning of the year will be in a bull market. Both of them move up simultaneously, and I was right on that. And we see that both using indexes as the yardstick, there's some stocks that have outperformed the Dow and some that have underperformed the Dow. There's also some metals that have outperformed the gold index and silver index, and there's some metals that have underperformed those indexes. So it's the same criteria. We have to start with a yardstick and use that as a point of reference in both markets. And so we can continue to say that we're going to be in a bull market. We're going to have that both. I'm going to say that both in stocks and metals. We're going to have a bumpy ride, though. We had one so far this year. There's been things that have actually been the roller coaster, and it's a lot of it has to do with we have a different type of president than we've never had before. We've had a lot of things challenging that have been happening. Firing FBI Director James Comey, which, by the way, he'll be testifying before Congress on Thursday. We had President Trump exiting the Paris Climate Accord, which I talked about on podcast 44. There was talk of withdrawing from NAFTA. We had Trump, who knows if he leaked information to Russia, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, did he have special communication correspondence with Russia? Who knows? President Trump even announced recently he's going to make some major changes to the Federal Reserve. But the three things, I'm going to get on my soapbox here now, okay? The very three things that President Trump and the Republican Party has said time after time after time has not been accomplished at 6 months into the presidency. I understand President Trump's got a lot of backlash on a lot of different things, but the three really important things have not been yet addressed. Well, they've been talked about. We've heard lots of talk in our Congress over decades. The three things have never been fixed yet, and that is repeal and replace Obamacare. The Republicans have had 8 years to get a plan on that. Now they still can't get one? 6 months when we have a Republican president? Makes no sense. Number two, lower the tax, corporate taxes. President Trump campaigned upon that promise too. From 35% down to 15%. It's Reaganomics. Can't get that done either. And number three, passing a budget that makes sense. We have a Republican House and Senate with a Republican president. You can't have a better mix. Why are we not getting these three things done? This should tell us a couple things. One, our country is highly divided, highly opinionated, and the Republican Party is even divided with the Freedom Caucus movement. It also tells us we don't have a working Congress. We don't have a working government. They get caught up in all this nonsense instead of getting things done. Unfortunately, I'm going to throw one little jab at President Trump. He does some of this himself with his own Twitter account. I'm not against this president, but he needs to get down to business and get things done instead of reacting and creating very controversial, divisive things within his own party by his way he interacts with people. Unfortunately, President Trump is not going to change. This is who he is, and this is what's worked for him well, obviously, in real estate. But it doesn't work, this behavior, in being the president or politics. So we're going to have some bumpy roads in the markets. I think they're going to be less bumpy because the market is going to ignore some of this. But the market, the key here, the market is moving up. Stocks are moving up with the anticipation that they're going to get these three things done, especially the corporate tax structure. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not a collapse kind of a guy, and the sky is falling. But if they don't get these three things done to what they campaigned upon, we will have this market unravel. The bull market will be over, and we will have a correction and maybe even a recession, which it's showing signs that it could go into. And economists are now writing about this. But it's moving on the preface that they're going to get this done. So that's still yet to be determined. But we're going to have I'm making a prediction. We're going to have some we're going to have some bumps, along the way. You heard me talk about this topic towards the beginning of the year in February in a podcast where 1.6 billion new people will be able to buy gold for the first time in 42 years, represents 21 central banks and 212 billionaires. What am I referring to? Well, it happened on March 31st. I spoke about it months before that. The Muslim community now has a green light to buy gold, physical gold. Previously, for 42 years, they could not do that because the Islamic law that they have called the Sharia law, which dictates many aspects of their lives, even so what they can and cannot invest in. But as time moves on and the world evolves, there's new interpretation of the religious writings, and the Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution, or AAOIFI, which, by the way, establishes the standards for Islamic finance last year, met with the World Gold Council in 2016 also. And on November 19th, they drafted the rules and changes which were approved that day by the AAOIFI. And they officially announced those on December 5th of 2016, saying that there would be a launch of the opening of this on March 31st of 2017. This would show the new standard of investing in physical gold, which satisfies how they can now do that and take possession of it without breaking Sharia law. The World Gold Council estimated at that time $1.88 trillion of Islamic money that was previously locked up, not allowed to invest in physical gold, now had the green light to do so. Let's put this into perspective. $1.88 trillion of new money coming to the gold market. The total market capitalization of gold, by a recent study done in the U.S. Geological Survey, says based upon $1,300 an ounce gold, when you put all the physical gold in investments above ground and owned also in addition by central banks, that amounts to $2.93 trillion. So here we have a markets in physicals work off supply and demand. We have $1.88 trillion of new money that has a green light into gold for the first time in 42 years. And that market capitalization is only $293 billion. That tells us we're going to have pressure, supply and demand on an upward movement in gold. The charts are now showing this. Recently, since then, March 31st, that is. The dollar index compared to the gold index, spot price, they crossed. We're talking about technicals now, not fundamentals, switching gears on you. They crossed lines and it had a breakout, which means this is the first indicator in over 6 years of a buy in gold. The dollar was previously, in the earlier part of this year, at 101 by index, and now it's 96. So I'm using round numbers. 96.57, I think, is what it is at today. So this creates a buy signal for traders. That's the technical sign. Back to this new class of investors. This reminds me when 25% of the world population, let's put this in perspective. In 2003, the green light went for the Chinese to be able to buy gold for the first time in over 36 years. That was 25% of the world's population at 1.4 billion people at the time. The gold market doubled in 3 years as a aftermath of this. Am I telling you the gold market will double by the year 2020? No, but I wouldn't be surprised because there is more reasons to buy gold now than there was 3 years ago. There's more people now buying gold today than there was, obviously. 1.6 billion more people have reasons to buy gold now. So I think you're going to see more upward pressure on gold. I believe we're going to break through the $1,300 mark this year. Some analysts who don't sell gold are saying $1,400 even. One's saying $1,550. I'm going to be more conservative than that. But I think we're going to see higher numbers. But we have this environment that is creating a need for gold. And one of those things that causes gold to go up in the past is still intact. That is debt. Putting into perspective, debt soared. I want to make a common sense thing here. Borrowing too much money and the weight of that debt makes it harder to do things that used to be easy. So it used to be easy to manage our government debt. Now it's becoming more difficult. So much that the International Monetary Fund put out a report saying, warning, we're at a stage of cycling of setting new records, a reason for caution, not optimism. The environment is now vulnerable and challenged by debt held in assets by U.S. firms, which are arriving at now the same level as it was right before the 2008 crisis. So we have personal, corporate, and government debt at all-time highs again, at pre-2008 levels. This is what brought the system down, leveraging money, debt. And on the coattails of all that, check this out. The euro announced that they're going to monetize their debt. They unveil a plan to securitize it, their sovereign debt. If you heard of Financial Times, very well-respected European paper, there was a European report that comes out, European Commission's paper on the future of the euro, and that was seen by Financial Times, a copy of it. And the European Union is advocating out of Brussels that they're going to launch a new market called the Sovereign Bond Back Securities, which would package all the different countries, 19 of them, their national debt into a new one asset called Sovereign Bond-Backed Securities. They're bundling this together. Hey, it kind of sounds like bundling. What's that? In fact, that's the term they use. Bundling. Mortgage-backed securities. Bundling. Remember that term? Remember what happened when they bundled things together? Europe's bundling different debt from different countries to sell it as one thing. Sounds like 2008 all over, 7 all over again. Crazy. Crazy. Let's create more debt. Call it a financial instrument, a certain title, and let's sell it. Get the world to buy it. That's how we get out of debt. Insane. We're going to leave you with something that's very new. Came fresh off the press. I found the information. Confirms what I've been talking about. Listen to this. This is earth-shattering in my opinion. Another major piece that tells us the government is wanting to seize our retirements. This time, they want to do it in metals in a depository. Check this out. Many people probably already know what a CUSUP is. CUSUP number is a number that is assigned to a stock, bond, mutual fund, a securities. It has been standardized by CUSUP Global Services, so they called it after themselves. It is in a total of 255 countries. CGS is managed on behalf of America by American Bankers Association. And there's 34 million public and privately traded financial instruments that have CUSPIS numbers. So it's a major thing. They struck an agreement recently with Delaware Depository Servicing Company. Now, if you have metals in an IRA, you know what I'm talking about. DDSC out of Wilmington, Delaware, is one of 2 national depositories that store metals in IRAs. So think with me. They're now wanting to establish CUSPIS numbers to 93 different types of gold and silver and metals that are stored in the depositories. 93 different products housed at Delaware Depository Servicing Company for IRAs. The managing director, John Potts, thinks it's a great idea. The introduction of CUSIP ID into precious metal market represents an enormous step in the forward pursuit of a more modern, efficient, and transparent market. I say hogwash. I'll tell you in a second. He also goes on and says, we see this critical first step as an exciting opportunity to take a leadership role in precious metal industry and look forward to further collaboration with CGS, that's CUSIP Global Services, to bring the rich experience in identifier standards to bear for precious metal markets, end quote. Let's think what's really being said here. My question is real simple, first of all. So understand what they're doing. They're wanting to bring Wall Street to metals because it'll be easier to trade them. You buy and you hold your metals. It's not a stock. You're not going to trade this thing. This is, like I said before, 24 years in the metal industry. Metals are the turtle that's winning the race. Stocks are the rabbit, the in and out. This is a buy and hold thing. You don't need CUSIP numbers. My question is simple. Why don't they go to the mint and give all the products that the mint makes CUSIP numbers? And the refinery like Engelhard or JM, why don't they do that? Could it be they're only doing this in the depository because this is where IRAs are stored? Yes, let's connect the dots. We're here to help you. Sounds like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau saying the same thing. Yet they're there to control and seize your money. That's what they've been moving towards, and now they have a green light to do that. And this is just another step of that, saying we're here to help you trade your portfolio. We don't need a number to help trade our portfolio. You don't trade it, you hold it. A buy and hold is what metals are. An ounce in an IRA. So listen, my friends. If you have metals in an IRA, in a depository, you can get that asset, your money, in your hands without a tax liability. Call my company. You can hold your metals in your hands under the umbrella of an IRA and not have to be in this realm that I'm talking about that the government is moving towards. So if they flip the switch, they want to seize your money, it's not in a depository. It's in your hands. He who holds the gold makes the rules, as the old adage is. Call my company. You will learn about this. I have a white paper specifically on this. I have another white paper on how they want to seize our money. But get educated. There's no gimmick here. I'm here to help you. I'd love to have your business. There's 7,000 metal companies out there. Not all 7,000 know how to do this. In fact, most don't. And if they didn't share with you the 3 columns when you bought, then you were not very well informed. Not on your part. They just didn't know about the 3 columns, about the 3 distinct markets that do 3 distinct things. You'll learn about that in one of my pieces of literature also called Changing Directions and Changing Times. But the most critical thing is getting your money safe. And this confirms our money is still in jeopardy. Call my company, 877-448-2646. I'll say it again, 877-448-2646, or landmarkgold.com. Get your packet and get well informed. There will be no pressure. I can say the word, I guarantee you, no pressure working with my company. We're big on education. We're here to help you, but let's get informed. This is your hard-earned money at risk with our country that wants to follow in the same footsteps of seizing other retirements that's happened in 9 countries in the last 5 years. Get informed. There's too much information out there that says this is moving this direction, and we can help you. Well, hope you enjoyed this podcast. It's podcast 45, The Golden Rule. I'm David Fischer, the CEO of Landmark Capital. Have a great day.
This has been another installment of The Golden Rule with David Fischer. To stay up to date and find out the latest information, go to landmarkgold.com.